I'm about halfway down the curtain wall now, and this would have been an entrance to various chambers which would have risen up to the top of the castle. In fact, these towers are rather strange in a way, because below the towers they found various dungeons. The next 2 stories or so up would have been private apartment chambers, and the very top apartments, even in the main gateway there, were actually guard rooms. So there would have been a guard room somewhere near the bottom, apartments in between, and a guard room at the top. And again, you can see insertions in here. This would have been rooms. They're not 100% sure what they were, but various ante-rooms, chambers that go off to the side. And as we walk down, we're looking there. Again, that's the King John's Tower, as it's called, the southwest tower. And again, that dates from 1135 to 1140. And you can tell it's Norman. You see the doorway there is rounded, the arch is rounded. The Normans would build windows with a rounded arch to them. It was in the later medieval times that they started to build with the pointed arches. And today the castle grounds is used for bands. There's a bandstand now in the middle of the grounds. That's the Gilstrap Library. It was originally the Gilstrap Library, it's now the Castle Visitors Centre. And that's Millgate and Castlegate. That's actually the old Roman Foss Road. So that's the Foss Way, which runs from Beer, strange name, but Beer in Devon on the south coast of England, all the way through Leicester, Stratford-on-Avon, up through Newark, and then another 14 miles that way to Lincoln, where it effectively ends. Okay, now on the south wall, and looking across the river, that area there is known as Price's Island. This is known as Cookstool Wharf. Not quite sure why, but it's probably where they had a cook stool, which was where a nagging wife would be strapped to a stool and they would dump her in the water for a few seconds for scolding her husband. And this is again where the wall would have originally been, and the tower, which again is closed today because they never seem to open it very often. I've only once in my life been up in there. That was about 20 years ago. And that would have been an entrance into the tower itself. And down there, but again you're not really going to be able to see anything because it's too dark, is what's known as a bottle dungeon. So in the shape of a bottle, they'd open the trapdoor at the top, throw you in, no way you could get out, and if you were lucky you wouldn't break your legs as you fell. And they often left people to die in places like that. So yes, it's a place you wouldn't want to be kept prisoner in. And in this middle area here would have been where a lot of the places like the kitchens, domestic buildings, stables, places for the soldiers to live and sleep, and roughly where the trees are is where they think that the main outer wall ran down into the corner. So it covered a large area, not the biggest castle in England by any means, but built for a purpose, mainly as actually a palace, but a defendable palace. Okay, I'm now stood roughly where the wall would have been, the outer wall, and just a quick pan across the inner walls. Now when I was a kid there was scaffolding all the way to the top there, and we used to climb up it and run along the top when they were doing the conservation work on what's left of this. Now down on the riverfront by the wharf, just to have a look at the southwest tower and the chambers in there. So they did find evidence of another tower during excavations near here, possibly even on this mound here, but it's almost certain that the castle wall would have run across there back to just on the top of the bank, which is Castlegate, and the riverfront there. At one point in time they believed there was what's known as a water gate down here, which was effectively an inlet that allowed boats to come in to bring supplies. So we'll have a walk down the front here and see if we can see part way down the river walk now. And here these two shafts are, again can't really see anything up there, but these are garderobe shafts, so again toilet shafts. So all the waste would have come down there. This embankment wouldn't have been here, and that would have dropped straight into the river. So I'm now down roughly where they think the water gate would have been, in this area here, and that's the northwest tower. Just looking up there, and there is the entrance, or the later entrance, to what we call the Undercroft. Now again, it's probably going to be shut, it's only open certain times, but the Undercroft is effectively a vaulted cellar, and they believe it's where most of the castle stores would have been kept, because the actual floor level to the castle today is up there, just below where that oriel window is there, and so it was a pretty safe place to have all your stores. Now originally in the castle you would have come up through here. This probably would have been an entrance, a small jetty. The boats would have come up here, and originally through there where the Undercroft is now, there were some steps which when they did the excavations, they found the steps up into what was the middle of the castle originally. And just on there, one of the masons, when they did the repairs, SCLY 1990. So you can see obviously the stone there's a lot. These are the conservation repairs that they made to stop the thing falling down. Oliver Cromwell did quite a good job blowing the thing apart, and a lot of the stone was robbed once they'd blown parts of it. They didn't completely demolish it. There was probably quite a lot standing after they blew it up, and the demolition was stopped. Somebody was killed, a worker was killed, and it was taken as a bad omen. So this is why we've got this left. If they hadn't, they would have probably slighted all of this as well, taken it down. And now we're looking at the gatehouse again, and originally that doorway up there would have been a gallery from the bishop's private apartments in through to where the private chambers behind were. So I'm actually standing on what would have been the moat, now obviously gardens. So that's it, that's Newark Castle. Thought you might be interested in it. It's got a very old history, associations with obviously Sherwood Forest, which many years ago would have come to just through there. The marsh is just beyond the Trent, the forest would have come to just across the way there. So, Newark Castle.